Hello, and welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and on today's podcast, I get a chance to speak with Suzanne Tucker, who I've known for several years. She is a physical therapist, a parent educator, and a certified educator of infant massage. And she's also a mom of four and the founder of Generation Mindful, which is an intentional community bringing early childhood emotional awareness and positive child rearing practices into the mainstream for young families in early childhood classrooms. She believes the most impactful way that we can bring about a change in society is to focus, instead of fear and shame when we're working and disciplining our children, really focusing on nurturing safety and connection. So I hope you enjoy our interview. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to have Suzanne here with me. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Janine. So good to be here.
So for people who don't know you, can you just give them a little bit of background around who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a physical therapist, parent educator for 30 years with a focus on secure attachment. I'm a mom of four, and my work here in St. Louis has always been local, right? So for 30 years, I was running my favorite thing in the world to do, baby massage on the floor. We'd get in a circle, and I would have the privilege and the honor to be with 10 to 30 family units, right? With a newborn baby and all that's possible in that miracle of life coming together. And also what I was present to was what I know in my own life, that we as parents are feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, and generally not enough. And I've been doing this for decades, but really it was about 10 years ago that I started seeing this whole new brain science that we have is colliding with the day right now, this generation that we are. So whenever we set goals and they don't match what is, we get this stress. And so I started Generation Mindful 7 years ago to solve that problem. I saw that when we could take the learning more tangibly, playfully, and through our relationships into everyday life in home and classroom, people were moving the mark just huge, and they were feeling so much more joy and less stress. So that's why I started Generation Mindful. It was really to solve a problem that I had in my own heart, in my own home, and that I was seeing resonating. You know, we think we're broken. We think we're the one. We're doing it wrong. And it was really refreshing to see, wait, actually, no, I think this is generational. I think this is a societal issue. Yeah. So that's why I started Generation Mindful. So we make tools, toys, and classes that connect the generations. We do it through play and through tangible toys and learning. And we're always looking for the little moment, because that's where the magic happens. It's not, in the class alone or in the book or in the podcast. It's in you. It's in your heart. It's in your world. And it's in your relationships. So we're here, Janine and I are talking to spark and stir something in you. And I think that's the magic, really. It's you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's really, it's all about connection, right? It's all about that connection. So you talk about at Generation Mindful, you talk about you're on a mission to raise emotionally healthy children and via play and positive discipline. So can you talk a little bit more about that, the play piece and the positive discipline piece, and what does that look like in a real day-to-day basis?
Sure. Okay. So yes, we're on a mission to raise an emotionally healthy world. And we chose our name Generation Mindful because that healing that we're all doing, it's not just down. We think it's about parenting, it's about the child, but actually what we all know is it's here, it's in the self, and it's actually healing relationships before us. We're still doing repair work. And I think that is why, we are Generation Mindful, and why we are focused as a company on play and positive discipline is really because that is where I saw the magic happening in the circles of healing work that I was doing. It was when it was easy, tangible, playful. There's an intrinsic motivation around play that you don't have when you should on yourself. So one of my favorite sayings is, I won't should on you if you don't should on me. And I said it so much in my parent groups that somebody made me like a sparkly big bag, you know, and it was like, I won't should on you if you don't should on me. And I thought, and I was getting t-shirts, and I was like, wow, this is really striking a chord, because we are looking for a shame-free way to learn and grow. So that became, we have a bunch of basic tenets. One is mistakes help us learn and grow, which is a basic form of a growth mindset. And I won't should on you if you don't should on me says, hey, I am broken and also awesome all at the same time, and I'm learning and growing. So when you make play the vehicle for the learning, you remove the should and the have to. And I love regulatory speech just as much as you do. I look to my words, and our community now are looking to our words as a community. Where are we shoulding on ourselves? Where are we motivating through guilt and shame? And you'll see, if you look to your life, you're doing it often. Now, that's not an opportunity to beat yourself up. What I do is I say, cancel that. So I'll say, oh, I should have, da, da, da. And then I'll say, cancel that. I will, or I want to, or I am. And so this is just a mindset that becomes my words, becomes my actions. And the positive discipline is the brain science. All we're doing is nothing fancy. This isn't about permissiveness. This isn't about being what we call crunchy or granola or like new age or metaphysical. Actually, this is just being like hard science, how the brain learns, taking that science and making it simple. So we have simplified a lot of the science on attachment theory and trauma-informed learning. And also, what is emotional intelligence and how do we learn to regulate? So all these buckets of data and science. And Janine, we've made it so simple. This is how we look at it. Name it, feel it, heal it. And so I can go into a preschool classroom and work with little people and the ones who love them, which are the big people. And we're talking about, can you see your feeling? Name it. You know, you have binoculars. Feel it. Where's feeling happen? In the body. So we do this and heal it. Healing happens in relationship. To me, to you, it's a hug. So when we can take some big concepts and make them simple and tangible, that a 4-year-old can go home and do binoculars, heart, hug. That's where we change the world. So that's why we do positive, discipline, and play-based. And there's one last thing there. If you've never heard of the work of Dr. Stuart Brown, he's the foremost of play. He founded the Institute of Play. He was doing research on, of all things, the Texas Massacre, which is a serial killer, right? This is a mass shooting. And he was not even interested in play. What he was interested in is what is happening in the brain of these mass shooting people that this tragedy is happening at their hands. And what he saw was a formative lack of play in these persons' youth. And so he started doing a play profile. He did hundreds, if not thousands of profiles. That's what helped us get curious about what doesn't happen when we deprive the brain of play. And I'll tell you, what doesn't happen is that we fail to wire the brain for basic social emotional capacities that are necessary for all the other beautiful learnings to happen. So I think we think play is for children. False. It's for us. It's for learning. It's how the brain is wired to interact in the world. It's how we're wired to learn and grow. So that's why we really hung our hat on play, tangible, and through relationships.
Oh, it's so, I mean, you have so much that you just said in there. And oh my goodness, I want to just highlight a couple of things. So first, I want to talk about the guilt and shame that can happen as a parent, right? As a person who is raising other kids, the guilt and shame you may feel about not being perfect. And I want people to know it is okay if you are not perfect. That is what all humans are. It's okay to not be perfect.
You feel me? Take that deep breath. Everybody out there with me. Breathe it in. Breathe it out.
I'm telling you. It is one of those things. I always think about the work of Nicole Schwartz, and she wrote a phenomenal book all about that guilt and shame that we feel as parents, as moms, especially around not being perfect. And you don't have to be perfect. No kid wants a perfect parent because it's not realistic, and it's hard to live up to, and it's hard to do. So to make sure that like we're on a path. We're doing work. We're thinking about emotional intelligence. We're thinking about wanting to make sure that we are trying to be positive and playful with our kids. And we will also make mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn and grow. And it's about that self
I could
language.
dance. I mean, I am like here. I'm just like every cell in my body is doing this, right?
Yes.
Were you a recovering perfectionist, Janine? Was there a place in you that wanted to get it right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Right?
Still
I think
happens.
the more you know, and I want to say this to everyone out there, if you're a seeker, it's what I call you, you are a seeker. You're like, I'm getting this, I'm gonna do it right. There's a place in all of us. The more you are like have a perfectionist tendency, or if you are like gonna figure it out, I don't want to shame us for this because it's a fabulous gift. It's a resource, but I want us to see it about ourselves and recognize that this thing that we have can be flipped over. And I do think that every gift is a challenge and every challenge is a gift. And if we start to look at what drives us, we can have compassion for the seeking or the wanting to do it right or to be perfect. And when we catch ourselves having those thoughts, Janine, I'd love to hear how you managed it. But I can tell you what I started to do as a new mom. It took me about 5 years. I have 4 kids. 5 years I spent wanting to get it right. That's just seriously, I was reaching for a bar that was about an inch higher. I was breastfeeding for 3 years. Okay. Wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. I ended up having twins. Okay. Carried them, delivered them naturally. That was enough because I had made a shift by the time I got there. But if I had had that happen in my beginning of motherhood, even that I would have felt like, oh, something didn't happen, right? Because why? I was always creating a goal that was just out of reach. And I didn't know how to break down my goals and celebrate what is now, what is here, what is in front of me. And also when I saw that I didn't reach something, I didn't know how to redirect that into a new goal, right? Cancel the old goal, write the new goal, and celebrate. And so that has changed my life, being able to seek progress, not perfection.
Yes.
And also, what you said was so important. Our children, when I realized my kids don't want perfect, they need to see me love my imperfect self right now today. Because guess what? Every one of my children is imperfect too. So they get to see me loving me instead of like doing one of these, not being enough. And that's the greatest gift you can give your child, not being perfect.
Yeah. And so for me, what helped was self-talk, managing and monitoring my own self-talk, because it wasn't anybody else putting the pressure on me. It was me putting the pressure on me. Like, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other. And I was actually like, no, you actually don't, Janine. You don't have to make it perfect. You don't have to make it Instagram worthy, Pinterest worthy. They just want you. They want you to be connected. And if you make a mistake, that is again perfect way to teach them how to manage when they make a mistake, because they'll make them too. So it's okay, and you can apologize and you can mend and you can heal and you can move on. It is the ability to be able to, it's okay, like when things are not going well, to be able to talk to yourself in a kind way. And that can be really hard because some of that really nasty negative self-talk is like underground. You don't even know it. So it's almost like you have to recognize what's happening with that first, and then be able to sort of be like, nope, I am going to actually cross that off and like replace that negative with a positive. But it still happens, obviously, like those
every
negative
day.
thoughts.
It will happen every day because we're human beings.
Yep.
And so I think what you and I both know is that we have been given this beautiful instrument called the human body. And many of us weren't taught how to interact with this little antenna that we have here when we were little, because we were raised by a generation that they weren't taught that the body has a wisdom, it has a knowing, and it has the miracle of your feelings and your emotions. They're not right, they're not wrong, they're data. That's what we teach little people. I love to go into a preschool and I'll say to the 4-year-olds, I'll say, hi everyone, we're here to talk about feelings and we make learning about emotions fun. That's our job, right? So I'll come in and I'll say, is it okay to feel angry? And they all go like this, no. And I'm like, right? That is it. And it's like, yes, it is. And I don't correct them,
Right.
but I'm getting a litmus for where they are. And Janine, none of them are saying, oh yeah, it's fine for me to be angry. And why don't they think it's okay? Because they're little scientists and they tried anger. And you know what? It didn't go over so well because the adults in the world didn't know what to do with that angry. So we like to say at Generation Mindful, don't teach kids it's not okay to be angry. Teach them how. Anger is one of the best. Frustration and anger have fueled so many of the most radical healings that we've ever had. And so if we want to propel our world towards an emotionally healthy future, which we all want, love, harmony, peace, empathy, compassion, those things happen in a certain part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. We have the science and we know how to get there. We get there through connection and we get there through embracing emotion, not making it wrong, but making it safe to feel. If we can get that single memo to the next generation, you are safe to feel, we can disrupt the mental health crisis that we are in right now.
And here it's so interesting because I also run into the same thing where I talk with kids about being angry or being frustrated or being sad or being worried. And it is just a reassurance to tell them. It's so interesting to watch their bodies change. And I'm like, it's okay for you to be angry. It's okay for you to be full of rage. It really is. And that's a human experience. Like we've all been there. And so what do you do with that? How do you manage it? How do you keep yourself safe, keep everybody else safe, and make sure that nothing gets broken when you've got that big anger in you? Like that is really what it comes down to.
Right.
Like, let's keep everybody safe. And I talk to my teenagers all the time. Channel this you have a lot of big emotions around a certain thing. Well, you can channel it into amazing positive energy. Just like you said, some of the greatest changes have happened because people got mad and did something. And that is what we want to be able to tell our kids. You can be mad. All right, let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's come up with some safe ways for you to express that. And let's channel it. Let's see what we can do to change what made you mad.
Right. I mean, it's true. Is it the mad that you feel? What do we do with the mad that you feel? And first of all, we recognize it. And again, like we said, name it, feel it, heal it. Really, that is the science of what do we do with the mad that we feel. First of all, you don't shame it and deny it and dismiss it and pretend it's not there. And that sounds little, Janine, but my own mother reads my newsletter and she got my newsletter where I talked about the mad that I feel and learning that it was okay to have all these feelings, that the mad, and I would say grief is right up there with dismissed, denied, neglected, not understood societally. And so it took me 5 miscarriages to embrace, hey, I am feeling grief and loss, and I can be a faithful, loving person and own my sadness. And so when I was sharing about my anger in that way, something when my mom is 83, she got this newsletter and she had a healing around because she's a faithful woman that thought, well, you don't get angry, that's not a spiritually okay thing. And she ended up bringing that back to her prayer group with a whole group of 80-year-old women that would have gone to their grave thinking that it's not okay to be angry. And they had a great, rich conversation around anger, right? Yeah. And I think that's our healing. It's bringing it to our little people. It's healing those wounds inside of us that still believe it's not okay. And it's introducing it. It's never too late to introduce it to the generation before us.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely. So it really, I love to spark a conversation, no matter how old people are, about emotions. And you're never too old to learn. You can always learn something. and to be able to learn it in when they're little and playful ways. Oh my gosh, how powerful is that? Stuart
Yes.
Brown's work is incredible. It's incredible. If anybody ever gets the chance to read his book, All
Yeah.
About Play, he talks all about the research that he's done. He talks about play in animal kingdoms and how when cats are not exposed to play, they don't know how to hunt. It's like one of those things. It's like it's a universal like animal experience. Like it's
They don't
not
know how
just
to hunt and they don't know how to nurture their young. That
yes,
same research was in my training for baby massage, infant
yeah,
massage back in 99. So it's the
yeah.
same science of attachment and secure attachment and the neurological development that we want as adult beings to nurture our young. And what I want everyone out there to know is when we know that we had a difficult childhood, or if there's trauma, what I always want to put a highlighter on is the beautiful plastic nature, the ability for healing and repair in the human person. It is unique from the animal kingdom, the way that the human nervous system can constantly evolve and grow and heal and repair. So I just think it's really important when we look to the animal kingdom for guidance that we recognize the unique nature of the human spirit and the healing. And that's what we're focused on, is the healing and the growing. Heal, learn, and grow.
And I think that is such a great thing to focus on and to actually like sort of start to wrap up our conversation, because it really is something we can be resilient. We can learn, we can grow, we can change. We're not static beings. We can get better. Even if things have been really bad, we can get better. And that's okay. I love this. And so I always
You've
like
inspired me. So what we've done, and you talk about, we make our learning concrete. We make these little mantra cards. This
I
is I am
love
safe
this
and
part.
secure. And we do this for little people. The red bear's all about your physical body. And silly orange fox is, all about play. So I'm huggable, let's hug. But we have one that I am perfect, whole, and complete, just the way I am. Like I learn and grow every day. Yet I am perfect, whole, and complete just the way I am. It's one of our cards. I think it's Yellow Lion. But I want that as an ending note. It's this thing. It seems like it contradicts, and yet it's true.
Yeah.
You can be perfect, whole, complete today, just the way you are, and be on this path called parenthood, which makes life a parent, right? We're like on this super highway to personal growth. So just give yourself permission to be on the journey. You're not supposed to be where you're heading already. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be right here where you are, just as you are.
Oh my goodness. So one thing I always like to ask my guests as we wrap up is, what is something that you do that is a coping skill for you? How do you cope?
I'm like you. I go to the body, I go to my mind. This is my most important thing for me to be aware of. But I only get here through my body. So I'll just bring it in to this morning. I woke up and it was like, I wouldn't say an elephant on my chest, but I was like, ooh, what is that? Just this feeling. It was just a general lack of ease.
Yeah.
So I will say my goal is, the word mindfulness is joy and ease. And so if I turn to my body and my body isn't feeling joy and ease, then I know that there's some information for me there. So I go to my breath and I go to my thoughts, and I have rituals. So I breathe in through my nose, I breathe out through out through my mouth, and I say, I love myself. I breathe in and I breathe out, I am enough. And that basic knowing that I am love and that I am enough really brings a safe place in me that I can get curious about what's going on. And then I don't try to change it or make it wrong. I just settle in with it. So that's my practice, is just to turn to my body, respect it, and just stay curious. And basically I just use my breath and my thoughts. And I will tell you, and then if you're a mom like me, like I woke up, I do my next right thing. That's another thing that helps me. I made breakfast. My daughter went back to college this morning. I have one home sick. There's things. Life's here happening. It is a superhighway, it's always happening. So mostly I just normalize it for myself, and I get into my life. I move into action. And the other thing I think it's important to recognize is the power of movement. And just like sometimes this might sound silly, but I will shake and bounce like I do in yoga or Tai Chi, and I'll move my chi if I can't go out on a walk or be in nature. A real quick hack I do is either tapping or shaking or bouncing. So I'm giving it to you real guys. That is what Suzanne Tucker does in her house, probably daily, if not, every other day. So.
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And there is something about that, like just movement is powerful. That's like, I go to like going out in nature, moving. I have to.
So regulating. I mean, there's a ton of science. It regulates our babies. You see with a little baby that's dysregulated. Why is it we go on a walk, we go outside, they regulate? We want to really understand that we do have things around us, but when we're struggling, it's not the time for us to try to figure it out. We want to have our go-to list that we know because we're struggling. So we're in a more survival part of our brain. So make it tangible, make it supportive, and just surround yourself with these things so that you can turn to them when you need them.
Absolutely. If people want to know more about Generation Mindful, where should they go?
Come to our website. It's really the center hub for all that we're doing online. It's a free community, genmindful.com, GEN mindful, MINDFUL.com. Join us there, join the newsletter. We have a new learning hub for parents and one for educators, and that is free online. And we're all over social media. So we want to be where you are. And it really just all starts there on the website.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Suzanne. I've had a lovely time. It's been so great to catch up with you. And for all of my listeners, thank you so much. If you like this podcast, please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues or give us a rating and review wherever you are. And as always, don't forget about yourself. Take a few minutes, have a little fun, and have an awesome day.